This video is being brought to you by the TechTual approach to breaking into cybersecurity ebook. If you're thinking about getting into cybersecurity, discovering your ideal role, having trouble getting interviews, having trouble in your interviews, need LinkedIn help, or all the above, then this is the book for you. You can purchase this book at TechTualConsulting.com/digital products. The link will be in the description.
What's going on, everybody, man? Welcome back to another episode of the TechTual Talk. It's me, your boy HD. We got our lovely guest today, Miss Adrian, and I don't want to butcher her last name, but I'm saying it's McClanahan. All the way here with us from the East Coast, man. We getting it in. It ain't the midnight oil, but we're gonna make it do what it do on this episode. So, without further ado, let's let our guest introduce herself.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm Adrian McClanahan. You didn't butcher it. People get it wrong all the time, so you did good. I am a network control center engineer. I've been in IT for almost 15 years now. I am a mother to a teenager. I'm married, and I also teach coding part-time at our county rec centers because getting kids into tech, specifically Black kids, is near and dear to my heart. I want to present them with the opportunities I didn't get as a kid. Not saying that the options weren't there, but they weren't shown to me. Like, I had to already have the interest, but I know our kids can do this work. We can do this work. We're doing it. So that's something that's really close to my heart. Yeah, I love tech. I will talk about it all day long if you let me, in varying degrees. Like, I leave work at work, clearly, but multi gadgets, tech stuff, I'm into all of it. And I also design websites for my own business to help other small businesses. So that's me.
That's nice, man. Let's go ahead and give her a round of applause for that real quick. But 15 years, wow, that's a lot. So that would mean you started, I don't know. Let's get a little bit in, I guess, maybe, I don't know if you went to college or we talk about high school, but what made you want to get in this route? Or you can start off what you initially wanted to do and maybe you veered into tech.
So I was one of those kids that I was honor roll student. I was, when it came to what do you want to do? I was like a deer in headlights. Every time the guys counselor asked me, I said, I'm gonna just do general studies when I get to college because I don't know. I thought about it, but I was like, oh, I could be a doctor. I could be this. Like, the typical things you hear as they present careers to you. I'm like, I was like, but I don't like that. I don't like blood. So I was like, I'll do general studies. And one of my electives, because I went to community college first year, because I'm a first gen college student in my family. So I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to navigate this with little guidance. So community college and elective happened to be a intro to computer. I don't even remember the actual title, but it was computer class. And I sat down in there and the teacher was just like, you're moving through this quickly. He was like, you're done, but there's still a lot of class left. He said, this might be your thing. He said, why don't you take this next course? And I wasn't bored. That was the kicker for me because I'm very much a visual person. Like, I need to be touching stuff. And my son is the same way. And I don't know why I get so flustered with him. He's the exact same way. I'm like, I need to be doing stuff. I wasn't bored in the class. But that was big. That was big for me. So I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna try this. Let me see where this takes me. So I finished up my first year of community, and I actually transferred to one of the technical schools. So I took a weird, I call it like a zigzag route. I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. I don't want to take all these extra classes. And the way joke was on me, got to that school, they was like, you still got to take these classes. I was just like, no. But I got my associates from them in computer information systems, and then got my bachelor's because I was like, all right, associates, start working so I don't have to work at any job while I'm finishing school kind of thing. Then I got my bachelor's in 2000. The bachelor's came in 2010. I had my associates in 2006 because I had my son in between there. So that kind of shifted gears and stretched the education route a little longer, but gave me the push. I was like, I gotta finish now. It's like someone's dependent on me. So took the little road less traveled, but I'm here. So 2006 is when I started working in IT, and it wasn't some magical, got my foot in the door. It was easy. It was hard because nobody wanted to hire you if you didn't have any experience. They're like, well, what experience? I don't have any. I need you to hire me so I can get some. And my first job wasn't technically like a help desk. It was actually trainer for a copier company. I don't know if y'all, what do they call? Does Rico still exist? The copier company? I think they merged
Hey,
with another one.
look. Funny thing, before I graduated with my bachelor's in 2013, I had an interview at Rico to like be one of those people that go fix the printers. Promise to God, I did, and I didn't get that
Right.
job, but I don't think I really wanted it anyway. At that
Didn't.
time, back in college, like I tell everybody, I'm kind of very different on my approach to people going to college now. They don't tell you how to navigate that space at all. And it's like, oh, you're in school, but they're not showing you how to apply to jobs or how to get a job. Back then, they
Nope.
weren't even really helping us get internships. So it was kind of like a free for all. So you
It's
kind
like
of feel like,
figure it
oh,
out.
what? Right. So
Right.
definitely, that's funny that you said Rico, though. I think I passed that place. I'm from Louisiana, and I think I passed that specific Rico I interviewed for in Bossier City a couple of times the last time I was back.
I'll say it's fine. No, you ain't want that job. I'm gonna say they're not a bad company, but it wouldn't have given you the tech, like they called it was like technical application specialist. It sounded like I was doing something real technical. I was teaching people how to use their copiers and whatever else that they bought from the company that they had no idea how to use. That was it. And I was just like, but they did have like reimbursements for certification. So I give them that. They did encourage you to further yourself. So like the guys that fixed the copiers, they were all like network certified. Like the company paid for them to go get their Net Plus certification and whatever else they wanted. The guys are like, yeah, but they've been there. Most of the guys like 10, 15 years, they've been there forever. They were staying at Rico. I was like, oh, this is not it. I don't get the only computer I'm touching is my own to check my email. It's like this is not it. So that was brief. And then I switched over to a help desk role at another company to actually get
some gunshots for help desk real quick, man.
the front line of IT.
Yeah, man. It's funny. Funny enough, shout out to Dom's Tech Chat. There we go. I did a reaction video to one of her videos about like how to get out of help desk, and then also shout out to Kev Tech. I don't know if you heard of Kev Tech on
I think
YouTube.
so.
Yeah, if anybody's watching this right now and you want to get into help desk, check out Kev Tech's YouTube channel. Free game. You will learn how to get in help desk just by watching his channel, like for real. And if you're watching right now, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell icon for the YouTube algorithm. But anyways, we were talking about how help desk really doesn't get the respect it deserves most of the time.
Man.
People try to treat their job like a second-class citizen, not knowing if it wasn't for them, a lot of stuff, would pretty much be messed up because they are those first responders that's responding to things. Most of the time, to be honest, they're working more than the people who are above them. And they're underpaid.
Absolutely. And the thing is, they are dealing with the fallout from whatever decisions upper management, back end ops, any decisions we make, they're dealing with what's happening here. All the users, like we don't have to talk to those people. They have to deal with all of that noise that comes from whatever a hiccup. Hey, we changed this. They're like, what's going on? You guys, we're getting tons of calls. Or it's like, hey, we're going to do this. This will improve the process. So I think I'm grateful for that time. I'm beyond grateful for that because it got me where I am. But I understand the impact. I'm like, hey, maybe we should not do this without telling them first. Or we need to change our approach because it's going to have this ripple effect. I'm like, they're going to get slammed. It's like, we're not going to hear, we'll hear from the help desk. That's one or two people sending the message. They're getting slammed back to back for whatever change, migration, whatever we're doing on the back end. So I was like, I feel like that helps me perform better on the ops side because I know what's happening on the other side.
Thanks. I remember like it would be small stuff. Like for us, like I did the TSA IT help desk. And I remember something simple as like they stopped letting people be able to visit like Xfinity and stuff on their browser. So all the people at work and the government said, "Hey, I can't watch it either. We're on the same network, man." Or funny things were like, actually, this is what we're gonna do. Do you recall like maybe like your funniest call, or maybe your calls that were like in the 2 weeks that you're about to leave? Because like I started cutting up like when it was time for me to go.
You know what? It was weird. So of course the company did a really good job of making sure that I was training my replacement. They did do that. They're like, hey, this is who's coming in to fill your seat. Can you help them? So they got to shadow me, follow me around. We have a lot of eccentric people. So I told her, I was like, your patience level needs to be, I was like, even if you ain't got it that day, it's got to be, I was like, because once you get up from here, I was like, you're going to their desk. I was like, you got to be, some people, they just are the way they are, especially in like academia, people that have PhDs. I was like, they are incredibly smart. I was like, they may not be computer smart though. I was like, you got to be prepared for that. I was like, and also be prepared for them not to be receptive to whatever you're saying at that moment. So I had a lot of stuff that I had to close out. And then you know how sometimes, I don't know if you had this at the help desk, where sometimes it's certain people that call in with tickets. They're like, hey, you can handle them. They don't complain about you. I had a few people like that. I was like, I'm not going to be at the help desk anymore. They're like, well, who's going to help me? There's plenty of qualified people, but they're like, it would never, the personalities, the patience level, they're like, I don't like them. I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you, but I'll still be here, but I won't be here to handle this. Like it was a lot of calls, but wildest call. It wasn't even wild to me. I think it was just this person was very particular in how they worked. They wanted to work offline all the time. So anytime we migrated computers for this person, tons of local email stuff that had to be transferred over. She's like, why do we have to do? He likes to work offline. Why? Because he doesn't want to be distracted. And I think he flipped from a PC to a Mac. She was like, what is happening here? A whole lot is happening here. Just I was like, he was like, well, it's not working right. I was like, well, if we sync you, if we just put you online, he's like, no, I can't work that way. She's like, he's really not going to work this way. Like flat out refused. Like he was like, this will work for an hour or so, but I need this resolved today. She was like, but he can still get his email. I said, but he don't want to work online. And because, people have been the way that I was like, we got it. She was like, I was like, a lot of stuff they particular. I was like, you have to, help desk makes you be in tune with people a little bit more, a lot more. That was probably my weirdest call before I left. I'm sure there were tons because I was at the help desk for like 6 years. It's like I'm sure there were lots of them, right?
Ooh, 6.
Yeah.
Wow. For me, a couple of them that were kind of funny was like the one like the last week or whatever. End user calls in, and she's trying to argue me up and down that my password I'm giving her is her username. And after arguing her, because she was particular, I think she caused some problems before, because see, we used to support for the government, they used to use Blackberries at the time. So they used to use BES, BlackBerry Enterprise.
Enterprise server, yeah, I remember those.
Right. And then after that, slowly but surely, this was back in 2004 to 2016, they started using Good for mobile, Good for enterprise, whatever. So they started migrating to the iPhones and stuff. This particular lady trying to argue me down. I was like, you know what? I hung up on her. Because you ain't supposed to hang up on people. I was like, what they going to do, fire me? I'm already gone. Because
like, help me out the
honestly,
door early.
right. I mean, for us, it wasn't too bad because we didn't have too many of those people that were hard to deal with, because we weren't dealing with anybody's money or nothing. It would be simple as like, oh, I can't receive emails or whatever because they got all these large attachments in their Outlook, and that's why the app data storage can't pull anything in.
Mm-hmm.
Or like one of the funniest things is like the TSA network went down one night, which I was happy because like, shoot, network down, ain't got nothing. We put a front end message up. Hey, if you're experiencing, we are currently experiencing outage, we will, update you when it's fixed. Hey, boom, I can't get emails. Neither can I.
Pretty much. Like I
Make the
just
status
said.
update. Make the status update, and then
That's all we
they go
got.
on about their way. Because I'm
That's
like,
the
shoot, that
joy of
ain't on
working at the
us.
help desk, though. You
Man,
can just
listen,
say the network is down. Now I'm on the other end. The network is down. Oh, my Rome is burning. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, everything's on fire. They're like, what y'all doing? Trying to fix it. You can't work, so
man,
you can chill. It's like it's the opposite for me. The whole everything's on fire. What's happening?
yeah. Especially that board with the calls go and they go to red because people wait. And everybody calling in for the same issue. I'm like, man,
Right.
look.
Like somebody
Or
needs to
they
update the outgoing message.
or they migrate to something. They have us support something that we don't have training on. So now the calls are taking longer because we don't know what we're looking at on the other end. Especially when
Mhm.
somebody cell phone, like we had to deal with the federal air marshals. I'm like, we don't even know how that stuff looks. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I'm trying to help you, but I can't even see what you're looking at. So
Right.
it's really hard for me to even talk you through this. That was like when we had remote support, which was great. It was hard if I couldn't see it. I was like, it's really hard that you're trying to explain it to me. I was like, and I'm pretty sure you're explaining it wrong. I was like, and I am trying to talk you through this because we had some people, oh, well, I can't let you remote in right now. Well, I don't know how am I supposed to help you if I can't come up to see you and if you're off site and we're trying to, I can't, they're like, this is taking a long time. It's taking a very long time.
Man, we used to use an office communicator, so that would be an easy way. But some people didn't know how to do that, so the you'd be surprised like how that skill of like showing somebody who has absolutely no clue about anything to get something, how useful that is. Because I find a lot of people don't know how to direct you like on the screen, or people didn't know what the internet browser was, or man, it used to be mess. Like if it took too long, say, look, I'm finna just show you how I can remote in because I'm like I'm not finna do this all day because we need to get that first call resolution within like 5 to 7 minutes.
Those
All
SLAs, like,
those.
they're like, what you doing? Why are you still on this call? Why is there no update to this ticket? Why
Why you
are
in
you
Ox One? Listen,
like,
I
'cause
can
we had,
go on.
yeah,
It's
the help
funny.
desk.
Funny enough, I think I'm gonna get my first manager at the help desk. I think I'm gonna get her on here one day. I have a funny story about I fell asleep during training, like sitting right by her. So I think that's pretty funny. But we probably could have stories and stuff for days because once you start talking about help, this is like almost like riding a bike. It start coming back to you, even though you hadn't did all that stuff in a while. But let's transition to what did you do? Okay, how long? Well, most people it's probably like 2 weeks when they're ready to leave help desk. But we're gonna say, when did you decide that you were ready to leave help desk and get into something else?
So that actually happened in like year 4 at the help desk, but I hadn't found what that next step was. So I was studying, like I leaned into project management a little bit. I was like, I think I'm gonna do this. And I had someone let me pick their brain at the company. She's like, I do project management. What do you want to know? So I would talk to her and I was just like, maybe this isn't for me. Then I sat down again. I was like, all right, let me revisit this. And then I think after a while, like I just kept any extra projects, outside stuff that they would let help desk volunteer to help with, like on the ops side. I was like, me, like just trying to get a feel for what other projects we're working on, what other things might interest me. Because at the help desk I was working at, we didn't have any kind of connection to like LDAP, sysadmin type stuff. We were very much the help desk, like user level stuff. So I was like, okay. So I would volunteer for ops projects when they needed extra hands just to see what they were doing, learn more about that. And then a position opened up in the data center. And I had our current director, that's what she was at the time. She was actually getting ready to retire. She was like, you know what? She's like, I think this role is for you. She was like, you've hit a ceiling at the help desk. She's like, you're doing great, but no senior level people at the help desk were leaving. Like they've been there for about 8-9 years. They was going to stay right there. She was like, you don't want to stay here. No, ma'am, I do not. I was like, y'all are great, but I don't want to do this for 15-20 years. So she's like, apply. And I applied. I was like, I studied like some of the stuff that I knew they were working on. I interviewed. I felt like I bombed the interview. And because I didn't know Linux at the time. And I had this one guy, because he had every person from the data center team come in and ask me questions. And the Linux guy, I was just like, he hates me. I was like, he's horrible. I thought I bombed. But maybe a month later, he was like, we're bringing you on. He's like, the stuff you don't know, we can teach you. I was just like, oh, all right. Which I was like, yeah, I'm down to learn all the time. So coming in, because I worked with software tools and stuff. So I was like, that's nothing to learn a tool. And I think my very first day there, I was in training. He was like, this is this new platform we're bringing in. You're in training starting today. I was like, well, good morning. All right. He was like, at 9 o'clock. He's like, here's the book. He's like, here's login. Go to town. But yeah, I knew I wanted more. Like, I'm not all over the place, but I always want to learn more. Like, if it piques my interest, I'll stick with it. So I think that was her thing. And she's like, let me help her out of here. She was like, otherwise, she was like, you gonna leave? I was like, you right. I was like, because I was trying. It's like I just hadn't found what that position was yet. So funny enough, the 15 years I've spent like 13, 14 at the same place. Since because they allowed me to grow. I was like, if I couldn't have moved, I'd have left. And I think she knew that.
Nice. Yeah, you said something interesting that I touched on. Well, I can't talk about this stuff too much. I'll probably tell you offline. But one of the things that I tell people to do when they're trying to level up or get into a different role is, I tell them to volunteer for things, because a lot of those people are overworked, or they just it's something they don't want to do. So
Yeah.
if you're willing to do it, eventually they're going to think of you. Like you said, a spot came open and they say, oh, hey, this might be good for you. And I like the fact that you was honest, because you was like, well, I was myself in the interview. What I don't know, I don't know. And I
You
think a lot
can't
of people don't, right. I don't think other people don't understand that when we interview people, we're fine with that. I'm fine with you not knowing something. I don't expect you to know everything. Um, I can kind of see through if you're trying to lie to me, which makes it worse. Well, not really. I can see you may be trying to impress us, but like, just be honest. I'm already looking at your resume, knowing what you did and you didn't do. So you don't have to try to do anything, too much. Just kind of sit in that
go over
medium.
the top. Like,
Like,
okay. But I don't
but
feel
you
like you
don't,
should. Like,
right.
every role, no matter what level of IT you're at, whatever job, career path, whatever, you're going to have to learn something on the job. It's just a part, whether it's the culture of the company, the way this team works, certain tools they use. I was like, especially in IT, I was like, there's no way you've touched every single tool.
No
There's no
way.
way.
Yeah. And that's the thing, not to veer off into too many different things, but it's like when I see the newbies or they're trying to learn all this different stuff, I'm like, you're not gonna be able to take all that in right now. Like, you need to get good at a couple of things first, get your foot in the door, work, and then start branching off. Because no lie, if you see my mentions, it was a guy. He put like he was in school, and he went to get like 10 certs this year, like
I
AWS
feel
solution architect, cloud practitioner,
I
DevOps.
saw that tweet and I
Yeah,
was just like, ooh, I was like, that's a lot.
right. And I was like, pump the brakes. And so me and him talked, you know, in the DMs, and he understood what I was trying to tell him. I was like, instead of getting all them certs, get about 2 or 3 of those, and then work on the other things you need to do that role. Like, because I was like, if you got all those certs, like, then that's not necessarily going to grant you a job. 2, they're probably going to like maybe think you possibly cheated. 3, they're probably going to interview you super tough, because like, why do you have, if you don't really have all the experience, why do you have a DevOps solutions architect? You got I forgot what else he had on there, but it was too much stuff,
It was a
for
lot
somebody
of
that
stuff.
shouldn't have had. I was
I
like,
was like, that's a lot out the gate. I was like,
right. And see, what I didn't like is it had a lot of hearts, but nobody was on there. Granted, most of them probably don't know, but nobody's like, that's the wrong approach.
but I think with the climate of tech Twitter, Black Twitter in particular right now, people don't know. Like, sometimes like you're meaning well and giving advice, it's like, and then you get all types of wild blowback. Like, it's like, all right, do I lean in and say something? Because I'm really trying to guide you. It's like it's like a little bit of eggshell sometimes. Walking on eggshells online. Like, all right, do you. I'm gonna scroll. but it's weird. Like you want to like, hey, maybe you shouldn't, but it's like I think a lot lately. It's like I'm gonna just all right, okay,
Yeah. Well, if you're willing to listen to me, I will like say something. If not, hey, you got it. Okay, cool. I see people all the time who message me in private, and then I've seen them 8, 9 months on still going through trying to find their way. I'm like, well, if you would have just took the time and listened or invested in yourself, you'd be singing a different tune right now. But we can
right,
get back into that later,
yeah.
because that's a
That's a
I
rabbit
can
hole by
I can have a
itself.
whole soliloquy about tech Twitter in its own right. But let's get back into I'm gonna clip this part right here. That way, this will be probably like a good snippet. So let's clip it right here. What does a data center technician do for those that are watching that may be interested? Because so far, most of the time, all they hear about on Twitter is, "Oh, you can get in cybersecurity. Oh, you could be in networking. Oh, you could be in the cloud. Oh, or you could be, you do Salesforce. You could be a Scrum Master. It's so many different roles that people don't know about that they can make a good living in, take care of their family, and have ways to move up in different companies and do different things. So, could you explain to us what a data center technician is?
So the data center, for people that don't really know what that is, that's the meat and potatoes of the company. That's where everything that keeps the company up and running in IT lives. Uh, my job, or most people's jobs, we deal with the network switches, meaning the company has network connectivity, the servers, be they in the cloud or virtual or on prem. We're responsible for maintaining those, making sure they're physically okay, and of course, connectivity, so patch panels, all that fun stuff, which was daunting when I first walked in there. I was like, what is this? But primarily that's what we do. We keep the applications up and running at the back end level. Clearly we're not the developers, so we're supporting them. So the developers, the exchange, architecture, all of that stuff, we're the base level of that. We make sure that they have what they need to keep their applications up and running, which in turn keeps the company running, keeps everybody happy. So a little bit of physical labor, a little bit of software application monitoring, that kind of stuff.
Right. Crazy thing is, so my first time going to when I worked in the NOC. So when I first moved to the DFW, I worked in the NOC for about 6, 7 months. So my first time actually going to the data center was there, and I was like, man, this thing's super secure. Like they gotta know you is, let you in. Hope you got a badge. It's super cold in there.
Oh,
Y'all got the little things in the ground that y'all can pull out, and then at the top, like no lie, guys. So y'all, if y'all want to laugh at something funny, which was funny to me, if you go to that, and I might try to put it right here if I'm doing it right, but Drake and Future had that video. I forgot what the name of it's called, but they're in the data center, and then they unplug the thing, and everything goes off, and then they plug it back in. That's
it's
how
not
the
that
data
quick
center
in
works.
real life. That does
Yeah,
not
not
work
that
in
quick.
that.
What are
But yeah,
that speaking of this stuff made me think about like the rabbit hole. Like when I worked there, the knock. Do you have like communicate with like I guess your companies? Like, do they have a knock?
mm, yep. Which is inside the data center. Yep.
Okay, so y'all all housed together.
Um, when there's an issue, so we also have individual offices, and I'm grateful. Like there's small spaces within the data center. It's too cold in there. I'm glad we don't have to be in there all the time because I'm not built for that. I'm always cold. So we do have like we call that like the war room. Like when there's, projects going on or we
Right.
need to, talk across the table, we'll be in the knock. Otherwise, we all have specific roles and things that we are primarily in charge of in the data center. So then we can work in our offices. But when it's hey, new things are going up, let's all be here. Clearly not in the pandemic. We've all just been on Zoom calls, zooming to death. But so yeah, we do have a knock so we can see everything, one pane of glass. It's nice. Usually when we're in
Okay.
there, there's something wrong though.
So so when I worked in the knock, like I think we used to use like I forgot what tools. I know it was like Nagios, and we used What's Up Go, like some old stuff. I'm trying to
We
see what else we
have
use.
there's
I
a
think we used Splunk too back then. Like we used Splunk to let us know when
Splunk
stuff
is
was
still
down.
that's very much a thing now. There's BMC is pretty big and data center stuff. They have a lot of products. Like honestly, BMC is a little overwhelming. So even if
Or
someone is like, "Hey, I want to get into some of that stuff," like that's a big pane of glass too. That particular vendor, they got a lot of stuff. But it's good stuff to know if you're in the data center side. We monitor systems remotely, so there's tools for that. Of course, everyone has heard something about SolarWinds. You just had to
right.
within the last year. That's a big tool. It's a great tool. Like, and honestly, because it's so big, that's what contributed to it. I was like, how do you do the most damage? Boom. I
Yeah,
was
man.
like,
It seemed like this. It's one thing, it's not the other. Like I have like in my Slack space for like I'm a people. We subscribe to certain sites, and it's like bleeping computers telling me about different vulnerabilities that's happening like every day. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have another big one come up pretty soon.
it's
So
almost like it's between the end of the year and the fact that we're all remote. Companies are remote. Like it's like I was like they're going up. I was like the vulnerability, it's up. It's happening more and more often.
right,
I was like we're patching again. I was like, didn't we just patch a vulnerability? Yeah, new one out. Okay.
yeah, it's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, we tested a little bit on that on the live stream when we were talking like VPNs, and then how many people got the basic internet connection. I mean, internet like the default like router setting at their house, along with like it's a whole bunch of other stuff like how people are infiltrating people's networks quietly. But if let's say so, even some of those tools that you talked about, if somebody wants to say, you know what, hey, I don't really want to help this, right? I want to go work in a data center. What would be like? I guess like maybe your top 5 things they should know if they want to work in the data center.
Basic networking. Um Server knowledge of server configurations and builds. So Windows, but you need to know Windows Server. Linux is extremely helpful. I didn't know it when I first got there, but absolutely helpful from a data center perspective too, because you're going to be supporting different groups in the company. And I don't know a company that does not have some Linux based machines. So, and at some point, you're going to be called in to help troubleshoot, config. Hey, can you take care of this? Sometimes things I need to know from a data center perspective, the applications guy that's using the Linux box does not understand what I'm asking. So I need to have a basic understanding of like, hey, I mean this. Can we, restart this daemon on here? Or if you don't mind me going in, I'll just do it myself so I can get what I need to keep supporting you. So Linux, Windows Server, what else? Networking. And I'm not saying you have to be Cisco certified to the 20th power. Like you don't have to come in with that, but you need to have a basic understanding of networking protocols and firewall ports. Those kind of things are helpful working in the data center setting because you're going to touch them, even if briefly, or it's going to be communicated in a project you're working on, and you don't want to be like, what you asking for? Like, and sometimes depending on who you're working with, because some older engineers are extremely helpful, and some of them like, you should know that. You're gonna get that too. I'm like, okay, but I don't know that, so I need you to talk to me like I don't. So that's what for. Hardware, because as much as we are in the cloud now, there is hardware somewhere. It's somewhere. You may not see it. It's there. So you need to have a good understanding of and be comfortable with touching the computer parts. Like
Yeah,
we still do it often. So I think those two things, networking and then the OS stuff, and then come down some. Like networking is important because we have to work with those guys often. Hey, can you guys run this cable? Can you check this? Because sometimes they're not going to come in to do it. They're like, you're there. You
you
do
do
it.
it.
Right. You do it. I'm like, I know it's my stuff, but I'm not coming in there. I need you to do it. And
You
because you're in
you
the
fix
data
this
center,
cat. You fix this cable
right?
and test it out.
Or check to make sure, find out where the disconnect is. If it's not a straight connection, I was like, you're checking between hops. I was like, nobody wants to do this, but that's your job. You do it incorrectly. You done took down somebody's application on network. You're just like, oh, and everyone's gonna know you did it because something's not
Right.
working.
That hardware thing was funny to me. I chuckled at it because I was reminded of when Diera made that tweet about the cloud stuff and how the dude was like, "What are you talking about this hardware for? Nobody uses hardware. It's all in the cloud."
It's like, sir, the cloud runs on something.
Right, hardware.
Duh.
It's there.
I'm not saying I don't
Everything.
know that any company, like older companies, are still making that transition to the cloud. They're like, why does it need to be in the cloud? It's older people in charge. They're like, what is the cloud? Where is my stuff
Right.
at? Where are our systems at? And they're very leery of deploying things in the cloud. They're like,
Yeah,
we
some
want
of
it
them want
right
the little
now.
hybrid network,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of them probably are scared to because it's hard to relinquish control somewhat. I mean, you got the different levels of how you can structure, how you want to use the cloud with your organization. But even then, a lot of them just don't know about it. Like I try to tell people, like the concept of like the widespread thing in the cloud is still fairly new. Especially when you see these certain jobs like, oh, you need 10 years in the cloud. I'm like, 10 years, man? The cloud just really got hot in the last 3 to 4 years. If you want to be honest.
Exactly.
So, and that's pretty much what it is. Because I remember like certain companies. I remember like we had like our racks and stuff, and you'll look at them, and they got to make sure on floors 1, 2, and 3 they're all on the same thing, so they could just you know.
Mm-hmm.
I also like that was actually a pretty fun project I did in undergrad. We had to my networking design implementation class. We had to like design the network for the new college of business that was being built. So that was pretty
Nice.
cool. I don't even know what that stuff is. That's actually a funny story. Like that's gonna probably be one of my buy me a coffee drink stories where I tell people, hey, don't get in a group and with the people who just want to do all the work. So when you get up there and present, you have zero to know what's going on, and y'all end up getting a bad grade because the other two. Well, we get bad. We got C. We could have got a better grade had these two people not want to be know-it-alls
Right.
or act
You
like
have
they
to
were superior to
do.
everybody.
That's a soft skill. You have to be open to criticism and collaboration. Like you have to be able to work with other teams, people within your team, like people that are above you and below you. You don't know everything. You just don't.
Yeah. No, these guys were the word where they're like very smug with how they acted. Well, one was more smug than the other, but they were friends. You could tell every time they talked,
Oh God.
they felt like they were the smartest in the room. Like I'm talking about constantly going back with the professor.
Like, oh, okay.
I mean I didn't care because I mean the class was cool, but I would have liked to do more labs. Like it was funny in the I actually did another networking class one time, like at community college, and they had more labs, which is what I like. I said I don't really learn as good from lectures and PowerPoints. I need to do something.
Do something hands on. Like, look, I
Cause
can retain this if I do it.
yeah, cause I found out as I got older. I think I really discovered this probably about 4 or 5 years ago that my body checks out if I'm just listening to somebody do something. Like, even if I could be real rested and sleep and had sleep, I probably end up falling asleep. And that's kind of one of the things that happened with that training thing. But I didn't realize it then. It was so long ago until I had the time to kind of check it out. It's been multiple times since that's happened. That's why I like the Zooms because I'm just listening and I'm just doing something else on the computer, and I'm able to stay up.
Right, because you're doing something else. But if you have to just sit and listen, trainings are like, where's the lab for this lecture to whatever you're talking about right now? I'm like, show me. He's like, yeah, we're gonna do
Right.
that in a second. No, we need to do it now. You've been talking for 30 minutes.
Yeah, and you
And
know what's funny? No, you go ahead.
I was like, I'm not sure what you just said anymore. Like, so give me a break. Like, tell us to do something or walk us through it. Anything. Like, don't just talk though.
Definitely. Like I remember, like last couple of weeks they had us like these early kind of training showing us stuff. But I'm like, we're not getting anything from this. This should have been, hey, we got your stuff, your account set up. Walk through this with us, or I'll just give you the notes because when he's doing it, do you guys have any questions? No, it's early in the morning. It's 7 something in the morning. We don't have any questions.
Got
I
to.
don't want to be on the call. I just did it so nobody say I didn't join the call. That's what most days I have 3 to 4 meetings before like 10 in the morning. Like,
Oh my gosh.
now, granted, 2 of them are like short, but then sometimes it just depends. But I was like,
Before
bro,
10?
yeah, 8. What is like 8 to 8:30, 8:30 to 9, and then sometimes before that it's like a 7:45 one, and then you have one like at 9. So most of the time the minimum is like 2 to 3.
I think again, that's one of those things on our schedule. If it's something's wrong, if the meetings are that early, otherwise they don't typically, because people have staggered start times. They don't typically schedule meetings until like 10. They're like, look, we know everyone's online now. At minimum, either you online or you're near your computer. We're gonna have this meeting. But yeah, I don't think we ever had any like crazy early, unless it's like migrations or projects that have to get rolled out by a certain time. Ooh.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I'm still adjusting. I don't know, the culture's pretty cool. The people are nice, but they're just different from me. So I'm used to more people being a little bit more. Some of the things a little bit more being more technology like and futuristic. Like I was used to using like Slack and Microsoft Teams, and like more so we having a lot of Slack and Teams channels opposed to all these different meetings and emails. It kills me. So me and a guy, I think he's only been like 1 or 2 years. We're on the same page. Like, yeah, I hate all the emails. Like, it's much easier if we're in a dedicated space or team channel for that.
Because
So
there's gonna be a lot of if there's a lot of dialogue that needs to happen. Like, look, nobody wants to read an extremely long email. Nobody wants a thread of emails. If 10 emails about the same topic, this is a lot. This is
right.
I know for me in the data center side, we get notifications and alarms. So like, look, there's a lot going on in my inbox already. They're like, did you see that?
I
No,
remember. Who's
right.
gonna get that pager duty?
About to say on call rotation sucks.
Then keep on just going to the next person. I
Like
know, no
legit.
lie. Look, viewers, if you're watching, this is like, look, I didn't used to do none at the knock. That's how I ended up getting a master's because I worked 4 days a week. So I worked I think I worked Wednesday, Thursday. No, I worked Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. And so Saturday and Sunday were 12-hour days. And on those days, what I do, for those that are familiar with like North Dallas, Galleria area, shoot, I just go to the mall or somewhere. And I wouldn't, I just be chilling until I see page duty go off and then head back. Because it was only like 5 to 10 minutes from my job.
Oh, so
Like,
then yeah, you just like
yeah, I accept it and I look at it. The funniest thing for me that I did learn in a knock is about like the scary thing about when you're there in the daytime, it's a lot of more communication. So that, oh, we're testing some on prod or sandbox, blah blah blah. My first time being alone on the weekend, I messed up and I had to do like a documentation and chronicle, like what happened when something went down. But I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is just a test because I wasn't they didn't really they
like
trained me, but it wasn't kind of like a good training of like, hey, whenever this go off, just make sure you get somebody to verify, hey, this is meant to happen. But that was
that's
pretty
how
fun. That's pretty.
they throw you. That's kind of I don't think they trained us. They're just like, look, when you're on call, look at these things, check this stuff. And ours is a full week, and the only time you're not so after business hours till midnight. They're like anything that happens between midnight and 6 a.m. You gotta sleep. So, but it's like so I think my first few rotations I was emailing and pinging about everything just to make sure they're like she not paying attention. Like, no, I'm paying attention. What does this mean? What is that? And of course now I'm just like, oh, I know what that is. That's nothing. And people are pretty good about communicating it. Hey, this is happening over the weekend. Hey, on this date, like they'll send calendar things out saying, hey, we're going to be doing this between 8 and 10. Appreciate it. And then sometimes they'll forget and be like, hey, what's this? They're like, oh, that's us. Like, little heads up, be nice. Just saying. Thinking I'm about to go in there and,
Right.
make sure everything ain't on fire. They're like, no, it's just us. Okay. So it's gotten better. But yeah, they kind of prepare you, but they don't. They like, boom, it's your turn. Call somebody if you
Definitely.
need.
hmm But to segue out of that, let's ask this question really quick. What's next? Like, I know you've been at the
Mm.
data center a while. What do you have on your goals for like 2022, far as the next chapter of your tech career?
I am currently studying for my cyber security plus certification. I want to transition into cybersecurity because a lot of my stuff, even though I'm in the data center, I primarily manage a lot of application. Like I'm at a server at a console often. I'm not
Right.
physically lifting stuff anymore. I'm not running cables as much like other people do that. I was like, okay. I was like, so I've been noticing like I've worked with Splunk a little bit from the end of helping coordinate it. But I was like, huh. I was like, I could do this. I was like, I could dabble around here. It was like, again, when stuff piques my interest, I'll go do a little more digging. I'm like, hey, can I go to training for this? They're like, okay. So that's my next transition. I was like, I don't want to get stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've noticed working in the data center, once you find your role in the data center, not that they'll keep you there, but they know this really, really well. So this is always going to be on your plate. Or the thing that looks close to it is coming your way. I was like, I want to learn more. It's like, but I want to do more of the cyber part. So I was like, I
Yeah.
think I'm looking towards the analyst side. I was like, again, learning, analyzing, like I think that's just my thing. I went from wanting to touch hardware and pull stuff apart. I slowly migrated. Like that's where I started. So that's on my
Yeah.
goal list by quarter 2 of 2022. I plan to sit for the Security Plus. So bouncing
Have you
work with,
have you scheduled it yet?
I did end of March.
Okay, you
So
good then. As long as it's scheduled, you're good. Like,
yeah, I was like, I had to give myself. I was like, I said, I had the voucher for the longest. I said, you have to schedule it, Adrian, or you're never going to buckle down like you need to study for it because you don't have no deadline. I was like, I need a
yeah,
deadline. I was
yeah.
like,
I
but it
gave
couldn't have been
myself.
too close.
I scheduled like the Azure 900 for the end of the month. I I'll listen. Well, I've just only been listening to the stuff I didn't know, and then I'm gonna just see how I rock with it, and go from there. So it's pretty much similar to the fundamental stuff that you get with AWS with their cloud practitioner
Oh, okay.
certification. So it's not too far off. I'm still familiar with most of those things, but it's pretty cool. I definitely think you do have the background to do that. You probably have the background to do other things even besides like the analyst part. It's just about exploring the different things that could work with, especially with your niche set of skills. So definitely, you'll be fine. I mean, you've been doing it so
About
long,
to
it
say.
should be nothing,
And
honestly.
that's the thing, like studying. I was like, oh, I know what that is. I was like, then I know what that is. I'm like, okay, there's 8011 new acronyms. I was just like, okay. I was like,
Right?
okay. It was like there is an
Yeah,
acronym for everything. I was like, this is at first I was like, this is terrible. I was like, my brain is going to, but now I find myself as I'm reading other material, I'm like, oh, I remember what that means. I was like, so I'm retaining it. Like I tell my son, I was like, sometimes when you're studying, I was like, it's help. I was like, the book helps. I was like, sometimes you need the practice test. I was like, or you need something, not
yeah.
a lab more or less. I was like, you need to test your skills. He's like, mom. I'm like, okay. I was like, I'm just telling you, I was like, it helps. I was like, because he's, 11th grade. I was like, I'd be like, hey, let me quiz you real quick. He'd be like, no. I'm like, that's how you know if you know it or not. Whatever you're studying or you're trying to quiz you, I was like, that's how you know if you know it or not. I was like, I'm not going to give
Yeah,
you the actual question your teacher going to give you, but I was like, I'm just saying to see if you retained any of it because you're just staring at the book or the screen. Like, okay. I was like, I get it because it goes one ear and out the other for adults too. Sometimes they're like, "Did you hear that?"
definitely.
Mm.
No, I didn't. Repeat that for me again.
Right? Like, can you repeat that?
Yeah, I
So
mean, I feel because that's how it was when I took Sec Plus years ago. I would get people to quiz me on the stuff, and I was answering them, and so I was like, "No, that's good. It seems like I'm retaining it." It's one of the things I tell people is like, study to learn and not to pass, because if this is something you're trying to do, passing it means really nothing for you.
if
But
you
being
can't
able to
apply it,
retain some stuff, right, and learning it, so when you get into the interview, you can actually talk about, some of the things you learned, especially if you come from a different, career path or a different position, that makes you look better than to just say, "Oh, I got the Sec Plus," and then they ask you something simple.
And you
You
like,
can't answer it.
that's just
What
like
answer
going in.
choice is that?
Was it padding your resume? They're like, I know all of these things. Do you really know these things? Because they're going to bring in the person. Like we interviewed somebody that works with us now, and he came and was like, "Oh, I know all these things." He was like, "Go in there and ask him about this software real quick. He's like, just see. He's just any old thing in your day to day." He was like, "He's lying." He was like, "Why?" He was like, "Again, it's okay to say you don't know something, or say, you know
Right.
what, I've heard of it. Monte, I haven't really used it." I was like, that's an honest answer. You could know of something and not know how to use it.
Yeah.
They
Like
just
me,
want
I
to
know
know.
back in the day, I used to just throw every software I had access to at work on my resume. And I didn't know that was a bad thing until it finally caught up to me because they asked me about stuff I used like 3 or 4 years ago. I was like, man, I ain't used Exedium in years. I don't know what I used Exedium for. What did I use? Well, I remember what I used Anacam for, but all these different things, I don't even use them no more. So that's definitely one of the things I tell people about overselling themselves. It happens to the best of us. But that's cool. I'm glad that you already, got it set up. Like I've said, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. You got this. You're gonna be putting on Twitter and stuff. You pass the
Thank you.
Security Plus.
Listen, I will come on and tap like in all caps because I hate taking tests. I was like, so it's funny because my son is watching me study. He was just like, he's like, you studying? He's like, you just sitting there. I'm like, I was like, I gotta pass. I was like, one, these
Right,
tests cost money. I was like, they cost money. I was like, so I need to pass. So I was like, but it's like you gonna study into your whatever your career field, Jones, you're gonna study again for whatever
right.
new
Do you
tool
study
comes
to lo-fi?
along. I don't think I can. It's funny. Sometimes I can have music, and sometimes I can't have anything. Like it's weird. I go through phases where it's got to be silence, and then sometimes like, look, I
Right,
need some type of background, something.
right. Yeah,
So
see, my
that might
girls
work.
or something, they're always doing something sometimes. So, like, lo-fi, depending on, like, I follow this girl on YouTube, lo-fi girl. Like, her stuff is just right for study music, the right tempo and
Lo-fi.
everything.
I'm
And I
gonna
just
look
put
this
it on. Like it's good for everything, like studying, cleaning up. Like it's just calm. That's why most of my videos I put lo-fi music in it. I love lo-fi music.
up.
It's pretty cool. Uh, but let's touch on real quick about I'll let you plug in your business with designing websites and all that. How long you been doing that?
That's a little bit of a baby. It's been like 5 years. I say that like that's not a
That's not no
lot.
baby. You a vet.
I'm gonna say
You a
it
vet. How you
started
doing?
because when you're in tech and you say I work in tech, people will literally throw every type of tech question. Oh, they work in tech. They can fix your phone. I'm like, that don't mean that. No, that's not what that
Hey, my computer
means.
doing this. I'm not a mechanic for tech now. I do
Right. I'm like,
one
no, they're like,
lane.
but you work in tech, right? I'm like, that don't mean I know how to fix that at all. That's not what this means. But 5 years, I focus primarily on small business websites because a lot of times I've noticed, especially it started with friends. I was like, you don't have a website, or the one that you have is as a customer was hard for me to look at. So it
Hmm.
started with helping them, and then it slowly evolved to like, okay, well, I can make this a thing and offer this as a service. So that's what I've been doing. I enjoy it because clearly I work in a data center. There's no creativity, no creative
Right.
freedom there. It's very, I tell people it's not literally zeros and ones, but that's what it is. It either works or it doesn't. It's broken or it's working. Like those the modes. So this gives me a little creative, razzle dazzle to deal with tech. And I like it. I like it. I'm gonna say slowly working out the processes and things because of course that has to evolve as the business grows. But and mind if I talk about my tech summit for the kids real quick?
Go ahead.
Because that's my that's a bit. It's not a baby. That's about 5 years too, but
Okay.
it means a lot. So I again didn't have all the exposure to tech as a kid or as even as a high schooler. So for me, I was like, I want to give kids access to it, but I know a lot of these programs, the STEM camps, I was like, they're expensive. I was like, I got a kid. I don't look. I was like, these prices. I was like, my wallet. I'm like this. I was like, but every kid should have access to it, regardless of means. I was like, well, I was like, how can we do this? And of course, the rec center was like, well, we could charge them this fee. I was like, but if that mom has 3, 4 kids and they all want to come, I was like, them fees add up real fast. I was like, I want everyone to be, I was like, it's just one day. I was like, one day, a bunch of mini workshops. I was like, because we as adults will go to conferences and go to different sessions and things. I was like, they can get exposed to different areas of tech. I was like, because again, parents tend to do the same thing. Oh, I'm going to put my child in tech. But you don't know what part of tech they want to be in. You like, I'm going to make them a programmer. First of all, you're not going to make them a programmer. If they don't like it, if they don't take to it, they going to hate it. I was like, so it's showing kids and parents the different areas that their kids can work in and giving them something else to learn about. Like there's a ton of career options. You know that in tech. It's not just
Yep.
programming, it's not just networking, it's not just cyber. There's tons. And then there's some roles that you don't have to touch a technical piece of anything other than your computer, your writing. So, and I haven't gotten to the point where we can incorporate those level of things, but just letting kids talk and see people that look like them working in IT. So there's a panel that I have every year, about 4 to 5 Black people working in technology come in. It's a moderated panel. The kids get to ask questions, they get to talk, and that's in April of this year. So I'm really excited about it again. Last year I was able to get Amazon as a sponsor, and I think they're coming back on board again this year. So
That's dope. Definitely exposure is like everything, especially like I mean all areas like you got, especially with kids. They're
mm-hmm.
so impressionable, so exposing them young is like great because some kids only think they could be ball players or selling drugs or maybe a doctor or a lawyer, like all these coveted jobs that people talk about, not knowing like you can have a lucrative career that doesn't require you to technically go to school. Like eventually they're going to repurpose tech as highly skilled trades.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it should be looked at because you can pretty much work anywhere in the world with our various skill sets. That's the
Yeah,
way I look at
absolutely.
it. And I've seen people say like it should be treated like a trade, and I believe it should. Um,
Yeah.
but I like that. That's pretty cool. So definitely let me know whenever you start promoting that. That way I can promote it on my stuff, put it in my YouTube community tab, all that different stuff. And what's
Thank you.
crazy that you said that about the summit is the same reason why I started this podcast, particular, and I particularly have more women on here than men because, especially black women, because you guys are the minority in this. And so, of course, I have 2 black daughters or anybody. So now, like, oh, hey, her hair is like me. I mean, she's doing this. And uh, one of my clients, she saw like all the stuff I had on there, and I was like, introducing her to stuff that she didn't know about, and I was like, this is the reason why I started it for that very reason. This representation uh, isn't out there,
And
and
is
especially at
and
the way I'm giving it to people. So that's definitely like a big goal. Just keep on pushing this forward because I have friends that are like teachers and stuff like that. So sometimes they put my videos on in class. So I'm not I don't care about like man I need to get like the 15,000 views like on the episode. I really if I can impact one person to 5 people on a video, that's more than enough for me. I've had plenty of people message me about, been watching the channel, I tuned into the podcast, and thank you for this. I didn't know I could do this. So um, that's pretty much kind of where I'm at with that. So hopefully I can just do my
that's
part from far away, since I can't technically, go out and touch everybody. So this is one of the ways that I can positively give back to the community.
this absolutely is like, again, a young black kid seeing you like you are in the role of, oh, I can do that, or I can be something like that. Like they literally, if they can see it, they can be it. And I had a panel. The first time I had the panel, I had a black guy that worked VMware, I think it was at the time, and a young man stood up and was just like, I think the boy was 15, and he hadn't said anything the entire time. He was just like, he said, how am I supposed to show up in a room where people don't look like me? And I was just like, well, wow. I was like, okay. He's like, he was just like, he's like, you show up as you. He's like, you don't cower. He was like, you walk into the room, you belong in the room. He's like, don't let nobody make you think you don't. No one could have answered that question for him but that black man on the stage. It was the only, I think
Right.
only had one. I was like, he needed to hear that from him, not from me, not from his teachers, because teachers
Definitely.
do an amazing job, but there's something about seeing someone in the role you want to be in or in the field you want to be in and telling you it can be done.
Yeah.
This is how you do it.
Definitely. And that's some of the things too I want to do, like something like that, get some people, whether we fly in or whether I go to the hometown and talk to some of the kids there. I think that'd be pretty cool. Because I mean, definitely kind of like, black men too, like kind of like that's kind of goes hand in hand with the thing about like a lot of black men don't have black men as teachers growing up either. You don't see a lot more women teachers that are black men. So that's definitely dope. Because I know for me, I opened my eyes a little bit. Granted, I chose this major because I'm a CIS major too for undergrad. I worked in the College of Business. The guy who was over all the IT stuff, Mr. Eddie, he was a black man. I'm like looking at, the white professors and everything come to him. He designed the whole network, all the equipment and all the different stuff because he had experience, so that was like, I was like, oh, okay, so we can do something like that. Like in my last company, my immediate director was black. So I started seeing, and that's one of the things that somebody was talking about today on Twitter. I was like, when I go somewhere, I immediately look and see if anybody like me is an upper management, because that lets you know what type of company it is. If I don't see nobody like me, it's not necessarily saying it's a bad company, but they're not progressive, and it's a ceiling on where I could go. So that's definitely one of the things that I think about often. That we don't talk about too much, but and then one of my tweets that blew up. I need to really go back because I don't even remember life when people really didn't pay attention to my Twitter. But I remember I was talking about how like companies have no problem hiring us to do help desk, but any other job, there ain't that many of them. Because most times, if you ask anybody who did help desk, most of the time, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna say the person to the left and right of them look like them.
Or the only people in the area, like they're at that same level with them. Like if I look up, ain't none of us up there. Like, and again, like you said,
I would say my manager, she was black. I mean, but she wasn't the top manager. She's just one manager.
She was one of I think we don't, honestly. That's another thing. I was like, you don't see a lot of black people in the C-suite. I was like, that's where the change happens. I was like, that is where we can affect the most change. I was like, now getting there, I was like, it's because a lot of people, once they're up there at that level, they don't leave. I was like, it takes forever. Like they retire from them positions. They will stay there forever.
Not only that, what I found out is, and another reason, so sometimes people blame it on like, inequality or whatever, which is a part of it. But another thing I found is a lot of these guys have all been friends at various, like all these different C-suite people have been friends. So all they do is when they go to a new company, they bring their friends from a company they know. That's how, that's why your network is, important. So that's kind of what's happening. So now within the last 15, 20 years, maybe 30, more of us have been director level or VP or whatever. So now we're making those connections with other people where they bringing us over to different companies. So we'll see that change on a micro level. I'm not gonna say macro because it's still not enough of us out here. But eventually it will, and we'll represent a lot of these companies who our people spend so much money with. That's one of the things that people talk about all the time. So I don't know. I kind of like the direction it's going.
It's going the right direction. It's a slow going, but it's going.
Right. And to get slightly spicy, I bring up Twitter like almost every podcast. And already in 2022, because this is the first podcast episode that I have for 2022.
Hey, okay.
So it was like, I'm gonna touch on like the last live stream we did for 2021. We were talking about a whole bunch of things. We had a segment just for like how to vet tech services. And the way you vet the tech services is simple. and I put this in my book before. You research the person, you try to find their testimonials, reach out to people who've taken them, check their credibility, check their LinkedIn, see if they actually got a profile, if they got recommendations, compare their material to other material maybe,
Yeah.
and go
Look
from there.
for
I'll never tell anybody to say, "Oh, you shouldn't pay that," because the price is the price. My
right.
problem is if you come out with these things with no proof or evidence that you could, substantiate the claim you made. Like my situation I'm talking about is I asked the woman, she said, I'm ready to help 22 people make six figures being a scrum master. Now, knowing that a lot of people know, like, that role isn't even an entry level role. So how are you going to guarantee that?
I was like, that's not.
And
Don't just walk into that. That's like saying I'm about to you gonna be a PMP. No, that's not how that works at all.
right. And so during the whole conversation, she's trying to say, oh, I teach advanced methods and blah, blah. I was like, look, I know what I do now too. I can teach people advanced methods. Don't mean they finna go get a level 3, security analyst role or whatever. So cut it out. And they never really, replied to me. I got some intel that I got while I seen some testimonials. I asked some people that were actually kind of like friends of theirs about them. And, my whole MO about that was, and I kept it, where it wasn't rude or anything where I didn't have to disrespect them. But I'm at now, if I come across something on the timeline of somebody saying something like that, I'm going to ask them about it, on the timeline, because I don't mind you whatever you pay, but I don't want people wasting their money.
Right.
And they're saying, oh, I spent $7,000 with you, but I still can't get a job. When you could have took a fraction of that, at least got some type of entry level job. It might not have been the job you wanted, but still. Because I had a client that said like somebody she worked with ran off for like $2,600 of her money or something. Now she didn't tell me who it was yet, but it's just stuff like that. Because then now that's what breeds all the tension on the timeline between these people selling courses and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, the real issue is that, y'all letting some people slide with no evidence of what they can do.
Like you're not qualified, really. You're not.
Yeah.
And you're out here saying that's the problem. It's not like you said they have to research the people. You need to vet them. Or even I think someone reached out and I gave her a little bit. I was like, look at the vendor source. Like if you want to learn a
Mm-hmm.
particular technology, just go to the vendor. Start there. Like,
Right.
I mean, okay, you're on social media, so you're gonna see the courses and the coaches and everything. I'm like, but I want to learn AWS. Go to the AWS. Start there.
Yeah.
Like and say, okay. And if it's overwhelming, then say, maybe I do need to go take one of these boot camps or buy one of these courses because I'm not retaining it this way. But start there.
Yeah.
There's no
Definitely.
need to just because a guru is packaged a certain way. I know that's marketing. That's what it's supposed to do. That's what marketing is supposed to do. Like, but like you said, vet people. Like you said, do your research. Look for testimonials. Did this work out for
Right.
this person? Do you see a lot of reviews? Why I didn't get a job or I did? And of course, reviews can be padded, so you still have to, use your discernment. Like, does this look like? And then it,
Yeah.
like you said, the investment. I'm like, somebody their price is their price. Hey, that's
Right.
you. But half of that, if you'd have went to the vendor website, could have saved some money there, and you're getting it
Right.
from the source. May not be
Definitely.
at the
And
yeah.
no, I was gonna say, yeah, you're right with that. It's like comments can be like that, so that's why I say you can reach out to them and you see if they're a real person. That's why I made like my comments for my book. I had to switch it to where like people put their names on there, so it's not saying anonymous. So people don't think I'm just making up comments on there. But also like that person, like it would just make any sense to me. Just have like a Calendly landing page and vibes, like no website nowhere. Like that just didn't make no price of the course nowhere. And then I think a person that they possibly may have worked with was the only person liking their tweets. I went and researched them. They have a YouTube. They were charging like outrageous amounts for people to talk to them for, I think, for like 2 months, mentor them for 2 months or something like that. And they hadn't been in tech long enough either. So it's that part too. I don't care about what you charge, but I want you to be qualified before you charge.
Right.
And
And that's
That's my MO. So I mean, and I honestly I see it more so. I don't want to be sexist or anything, but I see the women more so pitting the women against each other for whatever reason. The
It
men
that's like a
don't really do that.
ongoing with not just in tech, like women in general. Like we're polarized all the time. Like I don't have to because I don't. It's like if I don't like you, then I hate you. No, that's not the case. Like I don't have to like you, but I don't have to dislike. I'm like we just
Right.
all right, do your thing. Like it's and you don't have to agree. Even if you don't agree with somebody, that don't mean you don't like them. I just don't. I have a
Yeah.
difference of opinion.
Yeah.
Like
I retweet everybody's stuff. That they launch something, I do it now. I think the key difference, with men and women, um, even when it comes to the cyberspace or whatever, is the fact that women are used to just being very catty and nothing coming about it because it's like just being women. I know even if it's just Twitter, if I say certain things to a man or I'm doing something that possibly may take some money out their pocket, that we may have a bigger issue. It's a possibility that I can always be seen or touched. So it's a reason why I just kind of move with grace for the most part. I might joke, but it'll never be anything like super disrespectful. Where I was like, if we was in person, we'd probably be like fighting for that. So I see women do the opposite of that for like a lot of shock value, but I think that that behavior is a little detrimental, especially with the way that they want to do and move. I think you guys could just be more unified, or hey,
well, and I
if you don't
think
like each other,
we
just keep the
are
respect level higher than
right.
what it is. All
Absolutely.
the
Like, and that's
subs and
how I'm
stuff. It's
like, I
not you
don't
call for.
know. It's never. I'm just like, it's not that deep. It's that's my thing. I think all the time. It's the internet. It's not that deep. That it's never that deep. Like, all right, cool. Agree to disagree. All right, bye. Like, it's not. That's what I told you. Like, it's walking on eggshells. Sometimes you're just like, oh, all right.
Yeah,
Keep
it's
scrolling. I'm like, I'm
it's
not even going.
it's a
But
miss.
no,
Yeah,
it's weird, and the gurus and the coaches, it's just that's you, that's great. Like, do you like? I'm not going. Like, there's some good people out here doing stuff, but then it's some. It's just like
yeah. I
you got
mean,
to take
and
a
it's so bad now when everybody knows you're not legit. Like, these certain people that I checked out before. I was like, yeah, they're frauds. On top of they used to be in a whole different profession where they was frauding as being like, I'm just gonna say this. If they're like authors, and they used to write books, and they used to do fugazi stuff with that. So it's just funny that you take one scamming way and then just try to go to a different industry. I've seen that too. Because I'm finna get ready to wrap this up because it's late on your end. I'm not gonna keep you up too late. But in this um, rise of people working from home, one of the scams I've been seeing is people on TikTok and stuff like this. And it hadn't been really talked about enough. I might try to do a deep dive video, and if I find TikTok compilations, I'm probably trying to throw them together myself. Is people making like, oh, you can own your own call center. You can own your own call center and hire people. I can send you when I called a girl out about this on Facebook from my hometown, and her
okay.
and
That's a new
and
one.
right, and I need to find like the link and stuff because it was hilarious to me. And her mom tried to help her out, not knowing who she was like talking to. Because I'm curious to see how you run your own call center because I know all the ins and outs of that, and it's not that easy.
Yeah, that doesn't even sound okay.
Yeah, yeah, but these are we are in the time of the scammers because if what you don't know
Oh,
what you don't know. So people's like, yeah, look at this money I got, and to me, it's looking more like a pyramid scheme. It's not a real. It's no way possible. Nobody in their right mind to get somebody off the street contracts to work for them. Like so,
but somebody that it's so scamming, and I posted about it on IG the other day. Like, they're even though Instagram does not do anything about people using people pictures, whatever. I was just
I
like,
saw that.
and I was just like, and I didn't even post the the message. I got like a couple people reached out and was like, hey, this happened. Is this you? I was like, no. They were like, oh, well, I'm gonna report them. Like they felt bad. I was like, I feel bad. I'm like, and she was just like, yeah, but it's. I was just like, what did you think was happening in DMs though? I was just like, at what point do y'all antennas go up and be like, wait, wait.
Right.
Like, cause I tell people, I'm like, don't click on links in DMs. Like, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck. I was like, chances
Yeah.
are, but they don't. I was just like, but my husband, I told him, I was like, it's working. So I was like, they're gonna keep doing it. I was like, because they're getting someone. I was like, as long as they're hooking someone every now and again, they're gonna keep doing it. I was like,
Yeah.
if the scam is working, they're not going. I was like, of course, some people pick up on it, block, whatever. I was like, but as long as they get one or two, they're gonna keep doing it. I was like,
Right.
and because everyone's remote, I was like, it, and also the need, like people, some people are flat out in need, like they're definitely like there, so they're willing to like, let me take this
Right.
chance that this 150 is gonna turn into 5,000.
You sound like the people that did the little blessing flowers. Mm-hmm. Let me put this on. You definitely sound like them people. Like on my highlights on my page, I got a thing that says scammers. They try to. I'm not gonna lie. If I wasn't savvy enough and it was early in the morning, they tried to, in a sophisticated manner, tried to pretty much get me because I shared this thing for this place in Dallas Fort Worth to eat at. And so then they messaged me saying, "Oh, you're the winner. Click this link." And I looked at it. I was like, "Okay." And that's why I actually just went online with it and inspected it even more, and told people like just to be weird for like clicking on stuff like this. Like this can happen to your account. So that was pretty crazy. But everybody doesn't know that like us. So they're already got, and they don't even know it by the time they click on it because the actual IG account was running the sweepstakes, but these people happen to say, we finna play on these people emotions, and then we're finna say, hey, you won.
Right.
So,
and sometimes you just gotta pause and be like, wait, why would I was like, but again, some people just it's wild out here. I'm like, look, I was like, if it seems a little off, treat it as that. I was like, if it's legit, it will come back around. If it's meant for you, like, just be very wary of it. Please. I was like, because anybody can be anything on the internet. So
right. Definitely. Yeah, we pretty much got to the end of the show, guys. Didn't want to hold it long. Adrian, appreciate you for being my guest tonight. Could you tell the people where they could, well, her info is already in the description, but if you want to shout out your socials right now so they can know where they can follow you at.
I am Chic Diva Geek on Instagram and Twitter, ChicDivaGeek, and ChicDivaGeek.com is my website, and FlashCheckSummit.com is the website for the tech conference for kids.
All right, those are socials. You guys already know where y'all can find me, TechTual Chatter, TechTual Consultant. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of the TechTual Talk. And remember, let's get textual.